So yeah, we can dive into it. So the first question I have for you is if you want to share your story and how you got into the online space. So from the beginning of your journey, how did you find about making money online? What made you first start searching about make money online, and your journey until you found affiliate marketing?
Kind of talking through my story to this point. Honestly, it's a little bit more of a unique story than I guess the typical leave the 9 to 5, go full time with your online business, etc. For me, it started at a very young age and falling in love just on the business side of things and experiencing my own family business. So I grew up with inside my family business where my parents owned a retail jewelry store. And it was a scenario where my parents owned, I worked in the store at a very young age, starting in about 12, 13 years old. My sister worked there as well. And we also had a cousin that was a manager there. So it was kind of like a full family thing. And at a very young age, I found myself falling in love just on the business side of things, just seeing my dad take that business from the ground up and grow it. It made me super excited for my future and being able to not only like shadow him and learn from him, but to also build my own business someday. At the start for me, as I was continuing to grow in that business, I was doing a lot of customer service and sales work. And in the back of my mind, I always said, I'm going to take over the family business. I have this great opportunity in front of me, and I got a good future ahead. As I kind of progressed through high school and going through school itself, I always had like a bunch of kids always coming to me saying, oh, Blake, you got it set. You got this family business all laid out for you. Everything's going to be super easy. And I don't know for me if that made me kind of have like, not a bad taste in my mouth, but it made me want to create something for myself. And that's where like, as I continued to grow and get older, as I got into college, at this point, I was still working for the family business. And I was branching more into doing digital marketing work for them. So knowing my parents at the time, being the age that they weren't too in tune with this digital side of things that we're doing here now. So they were very happy to have me take that off their plate, take over their social media marketing and their digital marketing efforts as a whole. That led me to really just finding a new level of passion for the online business side of things, to where I really realized like my best skills were in this area. I wasn't the guy that was made to be running a local in-person store and dealing with customers in person at this retail store. And I really was super passionate about the online side of things. So with all that said, essentially, that's where I started to go down the rabbit hole myself of how can I maybe create my own online business and build my own business itself. So it all started for me during those initial college years. And this is when I kind of went down a major rabbit hole to getting to where I am now. I'm sure many of you can relate to this too. Wherever you guys are at on your journey now, whether you're doing high ticket affiliate marketing, coaching, you probably didn't start with that point. And from where I am now as well, I didn't start here either. I definitely didn't start in coaching, and I didn't even start in affiliate marketing. For me, it actually began with drop shipping. So taking my kind of experience in the jewelry industry, I ended up starting a Instagram page that was kind of just around like basically featuring different like high-end luxury jewelry items. And I was able to build that page up to like 20,000 followers. So I built the page up to that following in about 6 months. And then this is where I wanted to start to learn, how can I take this first following that I built and start to actually monetize that following? So this led me into leveraging drop shipping, doing paid shout outs. And I think I was able to make like 500 to $1,000 doing that. As I continued on with it, I realized like what I was doing wasn't really building a real business. It was a cool side hobby. I was making a little bit of money doing it, but I wasn't super passionate about it, and I wasn't making enough to pay the bills. So this led me to the next step, to where I started to look into YouTube and kind of figure out, okay, what are some other ways that I could start building an online income? And the big thing for me at that time that I was seeing everywhere on YouTube, every different ad that I saw, it was all around Amazon FBA. And this was kind of when Amazon FBA was just taking off. And I felt, you know what, this is a great opportunity. Let's take what I built with this Instagram following and try to monetize that following through relevant Amazon products. So I actually went out, and this was as a sophomore in college. I was literally staying up to like 2 a.m. multiple nights a week, basically contacting different suppliers in China, different manufacturers to help me source a product, launch a product, and bring a product to life on Amazon. Believe it or not, that first product that I rolled out on Amazon was actually balloons. I literally sold, I think it was like a 15 pack of confetti balloons. And my thought process behind it at that time was to basically position this towards like those that were hosting bachelorette parties. For those getting married, it was on my Instagram page that were just getting married itself or just got proposed to, getting them to purchase these balloons for their event. So launched my first Amazon product, was pretty scared to get into this time because I was actually sophomore in college this time. And I put about $2,500 into inventory on these balloons. I had a couple of friends telling me I was crazy at that point in time, launched the product. And I actually had the first 2 weeks, I was able to make like 10 sales every day for the first 2 weeks. So at this point, like I'm going into junior year of college and I feel like, you know what, I may have a path to actually build something here and leave college with this Amazon business that could serve me with a full-time income. A few weeks passed and things started to really decline. Competition got really fierce. More people were coming out with very similar products and I wasn't evolving fast enough. And in turn, my sales started to slowly drop, getting me to the point where I was really only making like one sale a day. And at that point, it was even a struggle to get that one sale to even come through. So eventually I was pretty much forced to just lower my price, cut my margins, and kind of get out of the product itself, which led me to kind of going into my senior year of college. So as I progressed that senior year and continued to kind of go down the rabbit hole of different ways that I could make this online business work, after having 2 failures, learning some lessons from those 2, I knew I had to make the decision of like, do I go leave school from here and continue to go to the next thing and go all in with this and hope that I can get to full time right away? Or do I go to something that's a little bit more secure, build up some more money first, invest in myself, and continue to grow from there? So long story short, I made the decision to graduate from school, go back to my family business where I was director of marketing for them. But I made sure that I was continuing to put pressure on this idea of me building an online business. I didn't want to go back into being comfortable in this family business and settling just for me taking that over. So I continued to go down the rabbit hole further, and eventually I came across the One Funnel Away challenge. And my thought process in going into this challenge was to use funnels to launch a funnel for my family jewelry business to help them really grow on the online side of things. And that was my first thought behind it. For those of you here that have gone through the OFA challenge before, you know it can be pretty overwhelming. There's a lot of information in a short period of time. And I think the other major block for me at the time was like I went into it lacking a lot of clarity on the direction I wanted to take, which to me at that point in my journey, it just led to more overwhelm and really just procrastination on like picking the one thing to go all in with. So as I was procrastinating, deciding, should I launch this funnel for the jewelry business? Should I launch my own funnel for my own product? What should I do? I realized that you can actually sell OFA for $100. So this was like my first intro into being exposed to affiliate marketing and what that was all about. And this is where I got started with doing affiliate marketing with OFA. I think I made 1 to 2 sales on it. And that's a few months passed from there. And that's what kind of led me into going onto Facebook, starting a Facebook profile. I connected with a guy by the name of Chris Fong, as many of you know, on blogging. And I was next up thinking about starting a blog. And at this point, after 3 failed attempts, no success, thinking about going into a blog next, I was thankful to come across Chris this time because he basically came to me and said, Blake, look, based on what you've shared with me on your journey, like I know I'm super successful blogging. He was a 6-figure blogger. He came to me and said, Blake, if I were you, I would not start a blog right now. I don't think it's putting you in the best position to get to a full-time income. And I thought that was pretty empowering to hear from somebody that's a super successful blogger. He made some recommendations to me on kind of where to get started with Facebook marketing. That led me to one program there, which ultimately led me into my first high ticket affiliate product. So without continuing on from this point, essentially all these steps and all these failures and all these lessons learned led me into getting into high ticket affiliate marketing, which was just 3 years ago. And from that point going in, I was at 0. And then fast forward to the end of that first year in high ticket affiliate marketing, I was able to get to my first 100K a year.
Awesome. So 100K in your first year with high ticket affiliate marketing, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And during that time, you were still working full-time in your family business.
Exactly. So I was working full-time for them basically for about 75% of that year. I officially walked away from that job at about, it was basically going into kind of the holiday season of that year.
Yeah. So it's amazing. And you were working how many hours a week?
About 60 hours a week. I mean, especially when I got into any particular holiday in that business, like it's very time demanding. So normally you'd have a 7-hour day, but once it was holiday season, more rush coming in for gift purchasing, it would be more like 8 to 9 hour days and 60 to 70 hour weeks.
Yeah. So what allowed you to grow so quickly was also the experience you had from all those failures that you had before, right? So you had some experience also from your family business in sales, so that helped you have a bit of foundation in sales, and then all those failures taught you a lot of lessons along the way that allowed you to then, when you started with affiliate marketing, to grow very quickly, right?
Very much so. And I think that's honestly like an overlooked piece. Like I see a lot of people like see some folks join a certain program and maybe they join that same program and they get upset because they're confused why that person was able to grow so quick. In my experience, like although I'm thankful for the programs that kind of got me on the path that they got to itself. Like for me, a lot of it came through the perspective that I gained from trying all these different things before, as well as like mentioned, like I learned a lot through just doing customer service and doing sales work in that family business for years prior to me getting to this point.
Yeah, so it gave you a lot of business knowledge because, for example, for me, I didn't have any business experience before. I was working in a job. So when I started my business, I had to learn everything about business. So having that previous experience with your family business is also helpful in you being able to understand things quicker and being able to grow. But this gives a good overview to anyone starting that things take time. Okay. We hear a lot of noise online saying you can get rich in the next month, you can make 10k a month in the next 3 months. And when we look at Blake's journey and my journey, things take time. I've been doing this for 3 years. You have been doing this for how long? Since you started online?
Yeah, in terms of like the online digital marketing side, it's been about 6 to 7 years now.
Yeah, so 6 to 7 years of failure after failure, learning lessons, testing until things start to click and until you have your big explosion and you make 100k in 1 year. So this gives a good perspective to people that are just starting, that things take time and it's not an overnight success.
I think that's a golden point to emphasize at this point in the interview as well, because it's so easy for us to look past that. Like Andre mentioned, there's so many different claims out there now in today's world from a variety of different programs where it makes us feel like if we jump into this, we can easily get to 10K overnight or 10K within a couple of weeks or in a couple of months. And we look past the fact of the real fact that we have to have skills in place in order to do that. And I think the more that we can be in tune with the skills that we currently have now, the more that we can really just focus on giving ourselves what we need to develop those and knowing that it's going to take time to get there. We have to build those skills first to be able to make the income.
Yeah, not only skills, but also the beliefs, the mindset shifts we need to have. So it's a lot that we need to develop ourselves, especially when we don't have any marketing experience, any sales experience. It's a lot that we need to learn. So
Very much.
things take time. When you were able to grow from 0 to 100k in that year, you did it with very limited time. So what would you say were the key factors that allowed you to, with very limited time, start achieving 10k months and making 100k in your first year? Do you have any things that you say this was key in me being able to do that with very limited time?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think like when I look back at my journey at that point, or very early on, like with me learning Facebook organic marketing, I knew there was a few core buckets that as I was learning the process, it really came down to being able to put out content and doing that consistently, starting to connect with folks in Messenger because that was the easiest vehicle for me to start building relationships. And ultimately being able to solve problems and present some offers. And that was kind of like the two core things. And aside from mindset, aside from all the other pieces of the business, if I start by focusing on those two, based on what I was doing, that would make the biggest difference. And I know that for many of you out there can maybe relate to this as well. Even with my customer service experience and sales experience, although I would say more comfortable in Messenger a little bit faster than most, it was still an uncomfortable thing for me to start. Just having those Messenger conversations really opened up my perspective on like starting to see like how folks can start to share problems that they're dealing with me, open up to me if I'm building a relationship with them first. So that's really like in my first couple of months, rather than trying to go and message like hundreds of people, I focused on basically a small handful of folks that I met in Messenger, met through Facebook, that I was starting to jive with in our conversation, where I could feel there was actually connection there aside from just talking about sales or products, etc. And I really just focused on building a strong relationship with those folks for the first 2 months. And majority of those led into sales about 2 months later. So that was a big help in kind of landing those initial sales and getting things off the ground at that point. And what was a big shift for me was like, I basically went from hitting my first 1K day, hitting my first 5K month the next month after. And then that following month after that point was when COVID hit. So this allowed me to step back a little bit from the family business because they were working less hours there during the COVID times. And this is where like I knew I had an opportunity at my hands to really capitalize on the extra time that I had available. So going into this sprint of COVID, I went all in on the messenger side of things and really kind of made it my mission to like master that element of business, knowing that was going to be a way for me to multiply those sales itself. And that's ultimately what led me to getting to that 10K point. Really, I think at the core, narrowing the focus towards those two core things, but really doubling down on messenger as I had the opportunity to put even more into it.
Yeah, and that brings some good points, because what you said there about you connected with people, and after 2 months they bought. After 2 months they bought ticket products from you. What we see a lot when people are starting with Messenger is they are trying to convert the person today. Okay, they are not trying to build a relationship. They are starting a conversation with someone with the goal of closing the sale today and being pushy and being salesy, and it just repels people. And you went into it with an approach of building a relationship, um, connecting with the person, and then when you identified an opportunity for you to help them and present a solution to their problems, that's when you did it. So you had a long-term oriented approach in building relationships and building an audience, without thinking just on making money today, but also building an asset for the long term, which is amazing.
Yeah, honestly, that's a great point. I think that's like the core of what we said as a whole. Like, really, when it comes to Messenger, I think a lot of times we make it like we go into it feeling like Messenger is like the vehicle for sales conversations, and the conversations have to be about sales, and we have to go into the doctor frame and identify their goals and struggles right away. But the sooner we get into that part of the conversation, if the trust isn't built there first, we're never going to be able to get the information that we want or create the opportunities that we want. I think this is where like a lot of people confuse messenger conversations thinking they're just sales conversations, when in reality we should be going into it like we're just networking. I think if we can go into it with a networking mindset, we can focus more on actually networking with that person, connecting with things that we share the similar beliefs to, or that we're both into, so we can relate on some commonalities and actually build some trust in a relationship there.
Yeah, what you mentioned there with the trust was a big light bulb moment that I learned from you when we were together last year, was understanding that people buy, because we hear this a lot in the industry, that people buy from someone they know, like, and trust. But it really clicked for me when I worked with you, and I started seeing that when I slowed down and built trust first, and then after the trust was built, that was when I started seeing if I could help the person and present a solution. That was when things started to click for me, and I was able to grow from there. So that was a big light bulb moment I had when I worked with you, was understanding that people need to trust you for them to consider exploring a solution that you have to offer, to solve their problems.
Yeah, I think like too, in conjunction with that as well, like I think it's, you hit the nail on the head in terms of like it really all comes back to us really wanting that sale super quick. And I think if we can get to a mode where we can really disconnect from that and know that the opportunities will come, the sales will come if we just do these few things first, everything becomes easier. But I think the problem is a lot of times we just try to make it too much about us, and we go into it with like a me mindset, and the other person can see that.
Yeah, it's all about how can we serve them instead of how can we make a sale today.
Exactly.
Awesome. So again, coming back to the limited time part. So when you were doing when you were implementing your affiliate marketing business with very limited time, what allowed you to, with very limited time, be able to be productive? So do you have any productivity tips on being able to make progress with 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day? What were the best things you implemented, or the best things you found when it comes to productivity to be able to make progress even when we have very limited time?
Yeah, that's a good question too. Like, honestly, like for me, I was going through like a phase of developing a lot in the personal development side of things going into this online business. So I think that ultimately helped me be more in tune with like the importance of not only reflecting on my action, but being more in tune with like, what are the few actions that I can do today to drive the needle and move this opportunity forward, and at least put myself in a position to progress each day. And this is where like I knew I had limited time. I knew there was only a couple hours in the day to work on this to start. So to give myself a little bit more time, I would wake up basically 1 hour earlier in the morning before work. So I had that time to, for me, what felt the best was to focus on content in the morning. So rather than going right into conversations, I would focus on writing that post and having that prepared and ready. That way I could put that up either in the morning or at lunch during my 9 to 5 that day, and I didn't have to sweat about it the rest of the day. That post also gave me an opportunity to message some folks in the afternoon based on who engaged with it. That gave me like the second half of the day, what was ever left of my lunch and what was ever left after work, to kind of put more focus on Messenger and then kind of learning in the evening. So I think the biggest thing for me was really identifying like what are the top key levers that I can pull that I know will advance me forward and put me in a position to keep growing each and every day. And from there, like, it's just super, super important to like build your day around a plan that can allow you to be consistent. And that's going to be different for everyone, whether it's waking up an hour earlier, staying up an hour later. Some people work better in the morning, work better at night. But I think you have to get into a mode where like you're making the commitment to yourself to follow through with these few actions that you've committed to as a whole. And if you can show up and do those things each and every day, just a little bit, you start to kind of build belief in yourself, and that compounds into like just seeing like over a period of 2 months, 3 months, how much of an impact that can make just over small actions each day.
Yeah, I wrote here 3 things from what you just said: focus, having a plan, and consistency. I think it summarizes well what you just described. So you were focused on your actions every single day, and you were not distracted, jumping around and trying to do different things. You had a clear plan to follow, and you knew exactly what you had to do every single day to grow your business. And you showed up consistently to do the work when you had the opportunity in those time windows during the day.
Exactly. And prior to that, I wasn't doing that. I was doing the opposite. I was every shiny object that I was exposed to, I was looking into it, exploring it more. And I wasn't like consistently putting pressure on a few activities each day. And it was when I went into that first high ticket affiliate product, the mentor I was learning from like emphasized a lot on simplifying the approach. And at first to me, that felt off because it felt like I needed to do more to get more. But it was when I started to do less and focus on fewer things that I started to actually get more. So I think that's, aside from those 3 points, like it's really just narrowing your focus to 1 to 3 things that you can do consistently each and every day to move forward.
Yeah, exactly. Totally agree. And I experienced the same in my business. I tried a lot of, I had multiple funnels. When I started, I tried multiple things. And when I started removing stuff was when things started to work. So I experienced the same. Awesome. Another question I have for you is, I talk with a lot of people every day, and the common thing I see people saying is that they struggle to make their first sale because they don't have results yet, and they don't have credibility yet. Okay, and we have a lot of people in this group that are beginners, just starting their affiliate marketing businesses, trying to make their first sale. So when you didn't have any credibility and any results, how did you position yourself as someone that could help people? And because that's a common belief people have. They think that it's impossible for them to make sales because they don't have results to show. They don't have screenshots. They don't have credibility. No one knows them. Yeah. So how did you position yourself in those first few weeks and months to be able to achieve your first high ticket sale?
That's a great question. I think the first step is honestly letting go of that statement in our head, because I had that mindset going in early on too, where it's like, how can I make sales if I haven't gotten sales yet? And all these other people have all these results and made all these sales. And the more that we tell ourselves that, the more that we'll never be able to make a sale itself. And I think the first step is just stepping back and realizing that everybody starts at this point. We all started at 0, and all the best gurus out there all started at 0 too. And beyond that, and kind of getting into that mindset, the next thing that I really focused on was, so kind of picking back up from what I was talking on there, like really putting that focus towards a small handful of folks that I'm sure you guys are out there now in Messenger. I'm sure you can pick a few people in your Messenger that you've connected with a little bit easier than others. Those are the people that you really want to focus on building a connection with itself. And to me, it was less just about like asking them for things for us and like making it about us, and more so making it about them. For example, this came up in conversation recently. Someone on my team now that's worked on my team for 2 years now was actually one of my first sales online. And when I first met her, we came and we started jabbing about the One Funnel Away challenge and how she just went through that as well. I just got done going through it a few months before. She was trying to figure out which product to go into and like which funnel to launch and what to do with OFA. And this was when I was just getting started in affiliate marketing. So I could have easily jumped the gun and went to her and said like, oh, you got to get into affiliate marketing now. This is the way to go. But instead, I knew that she was just going through this new program. She was a little bit overwhelmed with it. And I figured I would give her some help in that area. So I had I think a stack of assets that were bonuses that I got from OFA that gave you like some additional funnels. I just gave those to her, and I made her a personal video and just kind of went through how these things could be useful to her, and then just said, here you are, you can have them. That led her kind of continuing to come back and forth to me over the next couple of weeks until she actually asked me, hey, Blake, do you mind if we get on a call to chat more about what you're doing? And I think that's the core when it comes to making that first sale. If we can get to the point where we're just really focused on building that relationship up to the level where they can come to us and want to find more about what we're doing, it's so much easier to make that transition and to just invite them to join us in whatever we're doing.
Yeah, and the key to that is also what we already talked a few minutes ago, was you gave her value without asking anything in return.
Yep.
So that was what built that trust and that connection with her, and then she kept coming back because she saw that she was getting value from you and you were not asking anything in return. And that was what led to you then presenting your offer a few months later or a few weeks later when she was exploring for a solution to help her with her business.
Exactly.
So that's a great point.
It's like you mentioned too before, just being of service to folks. And I think you don't need to worry about doing it at scale to start and like helping a ton of people. But I think if you can focus on a small handful of folks and really serving them, you'd be surprised at what comes from it.
Yeah.
Second point on that too, just for those like in that same spot of not having that first high ticket sale yet. I think another important thing that I realized was the fact that you have a competitive advantage to be able to offer more of your time. So although time may be limited in the 9 to 5, like what I mean behind this is like for me at my level now as I've grown, I can't give up the level of support that I used to with, let's say, a high ticket affiliate offer. But early on, I could leverage more of my support, guidance, and additional calls to offset me not having the amount of results yet. And sometimes like that really stands out to folks that haven't gotten that support before. If you can be that step ahead of them and really give them close support, be there for them, show them that you're actually there to help them throughout their time progressing through that program of yours, like it's really going to stand out to them and being able to choose you over that person that may have some more results than you.
Yeah, exactly. So you are giving more of your time to help people. And I did that a lot in the beginning. I was giving more one-to-one calls. I was doing messenger support. So I was trying my best to help people with my bonuses, additionally to everything they were getting in the program that I was promoting. So yeah, that's a really great point.
Yep, it's huge.
Yeah. We see in the affiliate marketing space a lot of people giving up, a lot of people failing. We see people jumping into the space, and for example on Facebook that's very visible. We see people start posting and after 2 or 3 months they disappear. Okay, so why do you think so many people give up and so many people never achieve any results with affiliate marketing?
I would say, in my opinion, I think it's because of misaligned expectations. I think they go into it expecting things to maybe be easier than what they are. And they also expect if they put money into this program or invest thousands of dollars into this thing, that results will just naturally come. And then when those expectations don't come to life in 2-3 months, this is where they start to question that program that they're in, jump to another thing and kind of repeat the vicious cycle. I think this is where, like, if you find yourself in that mode of like constantly jumping from one thing to the next, this is the mode where you have to really just slow down. Pick one thing that you believe in most, one mentor that you align with the most, and go all in with them for a period of 6 to 12 months. And I think the more that you can temper your expectations of even results throughout that time, the better. So if you can go into it with a 6-month mindset of not expecting anything to come in terms of money or results in 6 months, you'll probably see a lot more money and results come in those 6 months.
Exactly. And the expectations part also comes from all the noise that we see in the industry, because we see so many people saying you can make 10K a month tomorrow, you can make 10K a month next month. And when people jump into the space and they're bombarded with all those messages, it's hard not to have those expectations. So and that's even worse now than when I was starting, for example. Now we see more on Facebook those types of messages, because when I started 3 years ago, Facebook was not so crowded with so many marketers doing that.
Yeah.
So that can really go ahead.
Yeah, really good point. I think it's like just important to be aware of it yourself, because at the end of the day, like there's going to be some programs out there that don't care about it, that still sell you on the thing. And I think like it's an unfortunate instance, because if those people, many of you may have gone through the same thing. You go into a program expecting what you were sold. That didn't happen itself. And then you kind of have a bad taste in your mouth about that program and every other program that you're considering, because you think more people are out to get you. I think this is where we kind of have to like step back, realize that maybe that last program was a loss, but like at the end of the day, the power is in our control and we can choose to look at it differently.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really great point. Talking about investing, I have a question about that. So I know you invest in yourself a lot, and my question is, because I see a lot of people when jumping online, and I had this belief when I started, was that I wanted to spend as little money as possible, and I wanted to figure out everything by myself from YouTube, and that didn't work for me, and I wasted 2 or 3 months doing that, and then after that was when I started investing in myself, and things started to grow from there. So I know you invest a lot in yourself. In your opinion, how important is investing in yourself, and how did that impact your journey in growing from zero to now 600 or 700K in sales online?
Yeah, this is something that we didn't even get to touch on in the beginning, but like this is probably the one of the most important pieces of it all. Because to me, just like you, Andre, as you mentioned, like throughout those years of Amazon FBA, drop shipping, the years of struggle, this is when I was trying to do it myself. I was trying to learn it all alone. I was trying to go on YouTube. And when I made that first scary investment in myself in that first high ticket affiliate product, I went into it with thankfully aligned expectations, knowing like, hey, I just failed at all these things before. I have to go into this knowing that I just put the most money I ever have into a program. And I have to give it time to put some pressure on it, take some action, and see what comes from that. And seeing what actually started to come from that, seeing that first high ticket sale come to life in the first 5K month, that's what made me really realize like how powerful it is when you can make an investment and actually utilize an investment and use it to your advantage. Because to me, there was things at that point in my journey that I couldn't see. And without signing up for that mentor in that program, I wouldn't have been able to see what I need to do in front of me to be able to take the action and get those results itself. So that like shift in belief for me at that time led to me seeing like, man, if this investment did this for me, imagine what more focused investment could do for me. And then that first year when I hit 100K, I ended up taking basically the 100K that I made and put 65K of it back into my business and personal development and business investments.
Yeah, totally agree. I invested over 25K in myself to this point, and yeah, I have the same experience. We can avoid a lot of mistakes. We can have a proven plan to follow, and also access to people that can help us avoid tons of mistakes and answer our questions when we have a roadblock. So it's huge. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's when you start to see the power of it, you realize like why am I trying to reinvent the wheel myself when there's already proven pieces out there, people already have it figured out. This is where I can step in and learn from that and make it my own.
Yeah, exactly. One of the big light bulb moments I had in our work together was understanding the customer journey. So was understanding that when people join our audience, they are cold, so they don't know you, don't like you, don't trust you, and then as they keep getting exposed to you, that's when they start getting warmed up, and you start nurturing them, and they start being open to explore solution that you have to offer. Because when I was doing Facebook organic before I started working with you, I was focusing a lot on trying to convert those cold people, and this comes back to what we were talking before about going to the first conversation with the goal of selling. And what you really helped me realize was that I had an audience already built, because I was building my audience by adding people as friends on Facebook. I was producing content, but I was not leveraging the audience I was building, and I was always going back to the cold people that didn't trust me. And you really helped me have this perspective shift. And in our first few weeks working together, I was able to extract a few sales from my audience, because I started leveraging that audience, and that led to very quick results because those people trusted me. Okay. So a lot of people online think they have a traffic problem. That's one of the most common problems I see people having, is they saying, I don't have traffic, I don't have traffic. But in reality, from what I've seen, most people have traffic, but they are not converting the traffic they already have, because they have people in their email list, they have followers, they have people consuming their content. So can you tell us a bit about the importance of leveraging those audiences, and why these conversions are easier than going to cold people?
Yeah, this is a really great point. I see a lot of people struggle with this, honestly. And I think something I dealt with early on too, where it's like I feel like as we start to build an audience, it's easy for us to think, like as we're putting out content, the folks that are consistently engaging with our stuff, I think in our mind early on, we think these people are just like our friends and supporters. But without realizing it, those are actually like your best opportunities. Those are the people that trust you the most. And we tend to like pull back from those people and just focus on like, man, I got to bring new leads in, focus on new people. And like Andre mentioned, like we can get into a trap where we're just kind of focusing on adding friends, reaching out to new friends in hopes that we'll just come across the next opportunity itself. But the reality is, like Andre mentioned too, the best opportunities are the ones that are in your audience now that have exposed to you, that have had touch points from you, and that trust you. And like in Andre's instance, for him, you spent months building up a good amount of trust with a lot of different folks, and you just weren't in front of them to talk further about how you can help. And it was when you made that shift, a lot of opportunities came from it. And I think what you said before about customer journey, like this is a big thing. The sooner you can understand that, the better, to where you can realize that like as people are coming into our world and we're adding them as a friend and they're accepting, these people don't know us, they don't like us, they don't trust us yet. And it's our job to give them touch points with our content, provide value to them, connect with them in Messenger to the point where we can actually build some of that foundational trust first before we go and ask anything. And I think if we can realize that those people that we're adding as friends aren't meant to become sales opportunities in a week, we can really focus on kind of creating a system around how you can take those new friends and give them the touch points they need to start trusting you more and being open to what you have to share.
Yeah, exactly. And it comes back to what we were talking about, giving without asking anything in return. For example, now what I focus on is building a lot of trust through my content, especially with Facebook Lives. I have a big focus on Facebook Live. So my focus is trying to help people as much as possible by sending them to my Facebook Lives. That builds the trust and the connection with people in my audience. And then if the opportunity arises, if they are looking for help, then we have a chat and see if I can help them. But the focus first with cold leads is to bring them to a process where you can nurture them and warm them up and build trust. Because without trust, there is no transaction. That was one of the big light bulb moments I had working with you.
That's a gold phrase there. Without trust, there is no transaction. I think, like, as you mentioned with live here, watching this live now, you can connect with us in a much deeper way than if we were just to have a short messenger conversation prior to this. And I think it's important to remember that. Like, even if you guys do go out and focus on new cold friends and cold leads, and they do say yes to booking a call with you, the chance of them actually jumping in and making an investment with you are going to be slim, because on that call, you're going to have to go through and share all about who you are, educate them on how you can help. And there's so much more work for you to do in the sales process when you focus on people that are further away from that. You can focus on folks that have had those touch points from you, that have consumed some of your stuff, that know what you're all about. The sales process is going to be much shorter because they already know that.
Exactly. So the content is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and the conversation can be shorter because the relationship is built through the content.
Exactly. And video is a great way, just like you talked about, to do that, because there's no easier way for someone to actually see the type of person that you are, the value that you give, the outlook that you have, than them getting to watch you on video and hearing you talk.
Yeah, exactly. We talked already about some mistakes people make in Messenger when it comes to being salesy. But if you look, because you probably at this point saw thousands and thousands and thousands of different conversations, not only your conversations, but from different students you worked with, what are the most common mistakes people make when in Messenger? If you can highlight the top 2 or 3 mistakes that people make in Messenger.
Yeah, I would say number one, they make it too much about them. It's like a me mindset going into the conversation. Like you said early on, you go into a cold conversation thinking this could be the next opportunity, and we go into it trying to create that opportunity right away. And I think the other two are kind of exact opposites. Either we go too hard for the sale too quick, we go into the qualification questions, we try to get them to become an opportunity, book a call, do something for us, or we do the opposite and we just focus on building massive amounts of rapport, and then kind of get stuck into basically like a friend zone where we're afraid to ask for next steps. We're afraid to ask if they want to chat and a call further, and we don't take that step. So I think it's finding a balance between the two, knowing that we have to build trust first, while still not being afraid to ask if they're open to our help, if they're open to chatting further about how we can help itself. And I think once you can start to get past that hump of doing that with confidence, like things start to flow much more naturally.
Exactly. And the second part you said is huge, because I lost sales, or I didn't close sales because I didn't ask. And I was talking, for example, with people that trusted me, and I didn't ask if they were open to explore that solution, and I saw them buying from someone else the same product because I didn't ask. So that lost sale taught me that lesson, that I need to ask if they are open to explore that solution, because if I don't ask, some people will never ask if you have something to help them.
Yep. I think it honestly can come from, at least for me in a similar instance, like we go from maybe being a little bit salesy to start, and then realize, man, we need to build more trust first. and then we're like, I don't know when to ask the question.
Yeah,
It's a challenging thing, but it's finding the balance between the two. And like you guys, I think, can clearly tell if you really look back at your conversations as a whole, like who's showing signs of trust to you and who isn't. If they're just giving you one word replies and they're not being too into the conversation, chances are like you're probably making it too much about you. But if they're being open to you and sharing, like this is where like you can step in and ask for that next step with them and do it with confidence.
So after you achieved all those results with affiliate marketing, it was 100K, right, with affiliate?
Yeah.
And then you started your own coaching program. That's what you have been focusing on for the last few years, is coaching people and helping people, not only affiliates, but also coaches, right? So how did you know it was the right time for you to transition into coaching? Because we see a lot of people in the industry that get some sales as an affiliate and they become coaches right away. In my case, I waited until I made 100K in affiliate sales to transition to coaching. So how did you know in your case it was the right time for you to transition to coaching?
This is a good question. I'll try to answer this in the most helpful way possible. I think in my instance, going into affiliate marketing, I went into it with a little bit of different mindset, knowing like for me, it was like I wasn't planning to do affiliate marketing forever. Like it was more of like a vehicle for me. I realized that this was the most efficient way for me to build an income online, help others, and do it in a way where I didn't have to worry about delivery and like all the other elements of the business because I was on limited time, my 9 to 5. So I knew that like when I was in that 9 to 5, I didn't want to have to worry about delivering my own program, creating my own things and doing that stuff yet because I didn't have the bandwidth or time to do it. And additionally, I didn't feel I had the skills to confidently help others do the same. And I think that was the fine line for me. It was getting to the point where I had enough results to show for myself that what I was doing was working, but also getting to the point where I was confident enough to help others and get them on the same path to doing the same. For me, that started with one-to-one coaching and kind of getting my feet wet on a one-to-one level first and like seeing how I can actually help folks, get them results. And that kind of compounded into me then rolling into my group coaching program once I started to connect those dots and see that I did have the ability to serve others and help them do the same.
Yeah, we need experience. We need repetitions to be able to help others. We need to see different scenarios. We need to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. And if we jump into trying to help others and serve others too soon, we are, in my opinion, that's why I waited until I made 100K in affiliate sales. I didn't want to become a coach before I had that result and that experience. So I decided to wait on that, because if I didn't have that experience of achieving that result, I think I would not be able to help people in the same way.
That's something that really stood out to me with you early on when we first started working together. I remember even talking about like how you ultimately wanted to get into your own coaching offer, but you came to me right away and said, Blake, I don't want to do that until I hit 100K in sales. And you stuck to that. Exactly after you hit 100K in sales, that's when you started to work on the coaching offer and that next thing. And I think like that to me, like that really stands out to show like not only the type of person that you are, but also like understanding that like, hey, we're not in a rush to get to this point. And although you could have maybe made some more money earlier doing coaching earlier and probably done well with it, you wanted to first make sure that you had what you needed in place in terms of skills and perspective to do that. And I respect that a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, man. If you guys have any questions, please drop in the comments. We have a few minutes yet. We have still a few minutes to continue with this. I still have a few questions, but if you guys have questions, drop in the comments and we can go through those in a few minutes. One question I have for you is, what are the top 3 books that you recommend everyone reading? I think I know one of them because you shared that in your content. So if I could guess, I think I know one of them, but what are the 3 top books that you recommend to everyone?
That's a really good question. Honestly, I think number 1 I would have to say is Atomic Habits.
Exactly. That's the one I was thinking about.
I figured that was the one. Yeah. To me, like that, like when it comes to this piece of like making the most of your time when time is limited during a 9 to 5 and like really building a strong foundation that's going to serve you for years to come. Like it's switching that mindset from short term to long term. Atomic Habits was huge for me on that. So I would say that was number 1. Number 2, a book that I've read probably 5 times now that's related a little bit to finances, but also kind of similar to Atomic Habits is The Compound Effect. I really love that book. That had a big impact on my mindset and my business as a whole. Let's think of the third. Looking at my bookshelf as we speak here. It's tough to pick that final third one. I would probably say one of Russell's book. Probably Traffic Secrets. Be the third.
Awesome. Yeah, I read the 3. Yeah, And
Or actually
the first,
expert secrets, because that's where like that got me into starting my Facebook group and really started me to see the power of like building a community around what you're doing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally recommend those three books too, because I read all those three, and yeah, I agree with those three. Um, okay, let me look at the comments to see if we have any questions. I see one from Tim. What are the three things to consider when choosing an affiliate program to build a business on?
Really good
Do
question.
you have any thoughts on that?
Three things to consider. I would say number one, making sure that you actually believe in it and align with it. I think oftentimes like we jump into a program just looking at the vehicle, like looking to just sell the thing right away. And before we go through the thing and actually see the power of the thing, how it can help, problems that it solves, like we jump into selling it too soon and we don't have full belief in that thing yet. I think like belief is one of the most important factors of sales. If you don't believe in what you're selling and you can't show that belief with confidence in your conversations, you won't be able to make sales. So number one, pick a product that you believe in. And honestly, like I think that's the core. I could go into two more things, but I think it really all comes back to that. If you don't believe in it, you're not going to get results with it. So don't just choose a product because you can make higher commissions with it or because it's the new hot thing. Choose a product that you actually feel truly helps people and it's something that you believe in, you're passionate about, and you want to get in the hands of more people.
Yeah, I agree. In the beginning of my journey, I tried to promote products that I didn't even buy, and it was hard to sell because I didn't believe in the product. So I
Same.
agree.
ClickBank.
That's why I recommend.
I was in ClickBank for a little bit when I first got into affiliate marketing. It was like, it was that was the mode where I was just looking for like a high ticket thing that I could step into and sell, but I had no clue on what it was I was selling, and I just couldn't grasp myself to actually do it.